Hymns of Vishwamitra, Sukta 6. The doers of the work, seekers of the godhead, who find expression by the thought, lead it on turned godwards, full of the plenitude, luminous, carrying the understanding, it journeys moving forwards, bringing the offering to the fire. Even in thy birth thou hast filled earth and heaven, and now thou hast exceeded them, O flame that carriest on the sacrifice. By the greatness of earth and heaven, may thy 7 tongues find utterance, carriers of the word, O fire. Heaven and earth and the lords of sacrifice set thee within as the priest of the call for the house, when human beings seeking Godhead, having the delight, ask for the resplendent ray. Mighty, he is seated steadfast in the world of his session, rejoicing between the 2 firmaments of earth and heaven, the united wives of one wide moving Lord, ageless and inviolate, the 2 milch cows, giving their rich yield of milk. Great art thou, O fire, and great the law of thy workings. By thy will thou hast built out earth and heaven. In thy very birth thou becamest the messenger, O mighty Lord, and thou the leader of men that see. Set under the yoke with the straps of the yoking the 2 maned steeds of the truth, red of hue, dripping light. Thou, O God, bring all the gods, O knower of the births, make perfect the ways of the pilgrim sacrifice. From heaven itself thy lights blazed forth, thou shinest in the wake of many outshinings of the dawn, when, O fire, passionately burning in the woods, the gods set the waters to their work for the rapturous priest of the call. The gods who take their rapture in the wide mid-world, or those who are in the luminous world of heaven, or those lords of sacrifice who are helpful and ready to the call, them thy chariot horses have borne towards us. Come down to us with them in one chariot, or in many chariots, for thy horses pervade and are everywhere, according to thy self-law, bring here with their wives the gods 33, and give them to drink of the rapture. He is the priest of the call, for whose growing even wide earth and heaven speak the word, at sacrifice, on sacrifice, facing each other, fixed like two ends of the pilgrim way. The truth they keep in his truth, who from the truth was born. O fire, achieve at my call the revealing speech, the many-actioned, the lasting conquest of the light. May there be for us a son of our begetting in his birth. O fire, may there be created in us that true thinking of thine. In accidental associations, in accidental measures, you do a thing and then it's done. But when it comes to the heart of truth, of nature, of life, of being, of fulfillment, of reality, then every new delivering, every new comprehension, every new immersion, every new thrall of life is renewal in and of and through the uncaused cause, the universal, the unconditioned and uncoerced truth of its fully embraced and entered measure of full existence's truth and law and rule of comprising. And hence coming into deeper association, deeper cultivation, deeper communion, takes all the faces and dimensions and aspects, takes the entire intention and attention of being's condition and nature's truth, and enripens and prospers and liberates, becomes continent supreme, supernal, with the foundational essence that leads it on the way, gives it to its association, full aspect of relation of being and truth, of ingenerable and internal comprising. If, when setting out for itself a sprout or a life, had to say where this branching springs, where this leaf ends, where this generation falls into and unto, it would be lost to the whole that at the completeness, at the self-governing truth of its entire reality, it is and always is profoundly awoken and enlivened and harmonized in perfect invocation and elicitation of assumption unto. And so in the same way, when the end of end, the being of being, the medium of medium, comes into and unto its forming thrall and communion, which is unconditioned in the wideness and truth and presence, singularity and universality of its dignity of state and nature of life and assumption, then imposing accidents on what is its own substance's reality of truth will always deny it. And so only the earnestness, only the intimacy, only the full living to the reality of being and nature and state and life allows that which is and that which it is to come to its fullest comprehension, truth, realization, and forming. And so there is the germ of true recognition, of non-dual full attainment, that seeing at the heart of cause, that one awake, unconditioned state, fronting the dawns, giving the pure understanding that gives the supreme to glow and flow, and that takes symmetrically to the heart and purpose, need and intention of all beings measure through all things, continently, like the perfect fulfilled expression and assumption of life. In its deepening, rousing association and truth and soul and margin, delivers of its nature's self, the all in all, out of all powers composed, of its inclusive truth and soul and occasion, which is contained in its session of nature and being and sacrifice. So the same communion finds a re-streaming and re-harmonizing of recollected supernal resolution, most pregnantly, profoundly, and necessarily for us herein. So this eternal way of its converting unto itself, of it being the aware fronting the anticipation and completeness through all things, is reborn. The doers of the work, the seekers of godhead, who find expression by the thought, lead it on, turned godwards. So the functionaries, the functioning aspects of being are the doers of the supernal work. And they are not just seekers of the Godhead, they are seekers of unlimited Godhead in the essence of being and state and nature and self. And they find expression by the thought, by this one perfection of the full dimension of its unconditioned concordance to that which is its life and truth. And they lead it on like the essence being honed around its ingenerable full truth and glow and subsuming reality, ever turned godwards. So this is an involvement in the measure of fulfillment of fruition and acquaintance and happening. Doers of the work, seekers of Godhead, who find expression by the thought, lead it on, turned Godwards. So being orbed and turned and infused and generated, all effect only coming to the acquaintance of the cause in which it's fully submerged, liberated and opened. Allow it to have the full dimension of that supernal over the transient, for it to have a Gnostic hypoxis, a foundational continent cause of being. Lead it on, turned Godwards, and hence they become full of the plenitude, luminous, carrying the understanding understanding itself having the interior underpinning support of continent and complete embrace, it journeys moving forward into its complete reality and intention's end, bringing the offering to the fire, the instantiation to the continent cause and supernal truth. Even in thy birth, even in the foundation of thy expression in thyself, from beginning to end, in full origin of the instant that is you, unto your own new entirety, even in thy birth, thou hast filled the full aspect, the gambit and ambit, the dimension and domain, the meditation and communion, the heart of the unalienated self-law, which you in the laps of the father and mother cradled all the waters on their way. Even in thy birth thou has filled earth and heaven, the complete symmetrical fuse and forge of witness and uncaused causes' entire assumption, passing its effect into its prescient and purposeful truth of cause and occasion. And now thou hast exceeded them, this continuously exceeding the aspect of their full faces of eminence's unparted entirety of communion and the delivery of manifestation, leading the face that going on its own way turns to its completeness and presence and truth all things. Thou hast exceeded them, O flame, that carriest on the sacrifice. It is you and you, this and that, this never-ending generation and fulfillment of glow, of fruition at the foundation of cause, that gives the germ of recognition, resolution, and Satchitanand to the unparted birth in the occasion of the cause, which is delivered into the heart and soul and entirety and in truth of all, in its own concord and being and happening. O flame that carriest on the sacrifice, and it is the flame, the instantiation of that which carries on the sacrifice, by the greatness of earth and heaven, by the profound symmetry and love and conformity and concordance, may thy 7 tongues, thy full dimensions of witness, find utterance. Carriers of the word, O fire, may your full meaning and message and guidance open up as the full revealing heart at the being of things, giving the unparted condition of true existence's interior association to envelope the foundation and continuum of all things enlivened. Heaven and earth and the lords of sacrifice set thee within as the priest of the call for the house. So all inhabitation, all mode of reference of manifestation and eminence, and all form and phase of existence, sets this self-conversing, self-consistent presence and power as the agent, the priest, the alignment, the purification, the entry of that habitation of its own being and station and self and soul and service. Set thee within as the priest of the call for the house when human beings, seeking Godhead, having the delight, ask for the resplendent ray. So in the exact same passage and source and way, set into our innermost self unto all, of the seeking of the ultimate, divine, concordant, universal, inhering fulfillment of uncaused establishment, and having the delight bounded therein and therethrough, they ask for the revelation of the self-resplendent part onto that full and continent inclusion's revealed state and capacity. Mighty, he is seated steadfast in the world of his session. This it going on its own way, this fire taking itself, kindling itself to flame and eating up the dimensions of the many aspects, like the consumption of the tree, in its shining through unto the dimension of truth and the uncaused heart of the continent whole. This is him in his session, which animates the full condition of luster and dimension and domain, as accidents tasting and being informed in the presence of cause of its full state of entire capacity. Mighty, he is seated steadfast in the world of his session, rejoicing between the two mightinesses of earth and heaven, the united wives of one wide moving Lord. So the very reality of the love, the embrace, the delivery of birth, that inheres as the reality of manifestation, and the unparted, concordant, divine, eternal eminence of heaven, of the above and the below, are upheld, it in it, it through it, its full joy and the eternal joy, waking through these aspects that are wedded and fulfilled and upheld by the pillar of its own reality. Between the two mightinesses of earth and heaven, the united wives of one moving Lord, ageless and inviolate, the two milch cows giving their rich yield of milk. So Brahman and Brahman, the full delivery of the nectar, the rich yield of milk, the essential condition of truth of its inherent capacity, thus open, liberated, acknowledged. Great art thou, O fire, and great the law of thy workings. So the full dimension and aspect of everything taking itself to the supernal, glowing in the supernal, all the faces and facets being resplendent to the uncaused cause which animates, informs, and is it, to the full delivery of entirety, giving the symmetry of the self-guided happening that eats up the branched mediations and manifestations under the delivery of the truth of the continent presence, laws, and law. All this and more in a live intuition of central parameter of grace awakens. Great art thou, O fire, and great the law. This full symmetry, harmony, thought, and dimension of happening of thy workings. By thy will, thou hast built out heaven and earth, the full symmetry, dimension, inhabitation, communion, recollection and seat and soul, the welling of the waters in the lapse of the engenderable, in the communion that sets that candle to its full brilliance of undivided state, unseparated from that which is its continent truth, entire condition and capacity. Great as that, you have built to this supreme and supernal dimension in your own inhabitation, the truth and soul in witness, as dependent aspects through the fulfillment of all things. In thy very birth, thou becamest the messenger, that recollecting, that inheriting, the prince of the call, that drawing to the lap of a father and mother, welling all process to its full communion and combination of uncaused causes, continent and entire reality, being upheld in its supernal and unconditioned truth. Thou becamest the messenger, whispering this to the liberation of the essence of all, O mighty Lord, and thou the leader of men that see. This ingenerable internal coming to the roost and soulless station, giving being and seeing archetype and communion of inherent and universal delivery to be unparted, in you, through you, of you, is hence experienced, delivered and inwoken. So set under the yoke with the straps of the yoking, the two maned steeds of the truth, red of hue, dripping light. So as everything is wide in its approach, so this universal dimension, this firing embodiment of steed, this dripping light of ecstatic ecstasy, which continently recalls unto the seat and soul and source of self, so yoked, so ever yoke, to the German truth of yourself in your own session, dost all spring. Thou, O God, bring all the gods this full dimension of dawning to the cause of its entire and undiluted reality, O knower of the births, conformity through and through, make perfect the ways, this gathering in the lap of undeviated and undaunted truth, the ways of the pilgrim sacrifice, the annunciation, purification, and revelation of resolution. From heaven itself thy lights blazed forth, from the unbroken eminence, from the supreme and supernal, sounding the whole, the ocean, under every condition of communion and voice. Your light, your conversion, your purity of being and essence and timelessness of engagement springs and has ever sprung. From heaven itself thy lights blazed forth. Thou shinest in the wake of many outshinings of the dawn. As in its own symmetry of being and reality and dimension, the sun is the source of all the dawns of all the rays. So all the anticipation is just the wake, the fluid passage, the interior aligning in habitation, in the all in all, the thrall in thrall of it in its own session, of thou shining in the wake of the many outshinings of the dawn, directly blazing forth from the heaven. When, O fire, passionately burning in the woods, taking to the ingenerable and the truth of all, the gods set the waters, set the universal dimension of continuum, balance, truth, process, and sacrifice, to their work for the rapturous priest of the call, the oblation in annunciation waking to the true agent, to the being and basis of all. The gods who take their rapture in the mid-world, or those who are in the luminous world of heaven, or those lords of sacrifice who are helpful and ready to the call, them thy chariots have borne towards us. Every face of expression, every face of annunciation, every face of recognition of the full unparted divine capacity have been born in and of and through you, recollecting at the foundation of being and conversion and access. Born upon us in your reality, your state, your unveiling, your integral and universal sacrifice. Come down to us, with them, with this full united realization of entire dimension, in one chariot or in many chariots, in one vehicle or in the full horizon. For thy horses pervade and are everywhere, according to thy self-law, according to this conversion of thyself and thyself. Bring here with their wives the gods, bring the wedded meditation, dimension, communion, realization, truth and fountain, source and spring, 30 and 3, and give them to drink of the rapture, this eternal and ingenerable divine rapture, unveiling to the truth and soul of process, of the uncaused and unconditioned all. He is the priest of the call, for whose growing even wide earth and heaven speak the word, at sacrifice, on sacrifice. This supreme self-conversion, this universal speaking, this echoing to the truth of the inhabiting and unconditioned and uncaused. All the dimensions, the framework and foundation of existence, manifestation, and the complete concord of unparted dimension which we see shining into and unto it, they are just speaking the word, this meaning, this message, this inclusion of truth and entire capacity that is at sacrifice, at purpose in this session, on the sacrifice, on its dimension of integrating communion and fulfillment, and hence facing each other, fixed like two ends of the pilgrim way, both these things not being parted in that which is their messenger, that to which they are wedded, that which is the unconditioned and uncaused attainment of their full reality, facing each other, fixed like two ends of the pilgrim way, the full gambit of issue, the full echo of dimension, the full scope of being, of the darkness, being awoken, being liberated, giving its full anticipation of contribution to the unveiling of the gold and the light, facing each other like two ends of the pilgrim way, the truth they keep in his truth. Only in his alive being, his alive reality, his alive presence and measure does this combination, communion, conversion, fulfillment of reflection and fruition of aspect come to its uncaused communion, high luster, in an entire state of life, truth and happening, from this reality kept in his truth, who is from the truth was born. So the uncaused cause, animating its full communion's reality and mantle, gives that which animates it, which is the purity of being, the essence of conversion, and the soul of all margin, that which gives the emissary of this full expression, to reveal the supreme and supernal truth in which it itself is timelessly, unconditionally, eternally delivered. O fire, achieve at my call, O this, that truth, presence, call, reality, power, awoken to in this way, renewed in this session of sacrifice. Achieve at my call the revealing speech, the full dimensions, unconditional concordance of meaning, significance, and margin. The many actioned, it comprehends the full dimension and purpose and entirety to the soul of the universal truth that all things, the lasting conquest of the light, the true and hearing inheritance of its unconditioned and fulfilled living expression and margin. May there be for us a son of our begetting, pervading in his birth. May this unconditioned, fully entered universal pervade, engage, be brought to its birth, the fulfilled expression, continuity, communion, and founding. O fire, may there be created in us that true thinking of thine, this concordance which is reflected in you and of you and through you. And so what has been said, in many ways, what requires to be lived unto continually, and perhaps has not given anywhere near enough recognition in minds today, is that at the epicenter, that at the core, that at the maturation, integration, delivery and resolution of life, being for being, continence of communion for occasion of foundational and true cause, delivers, operates, animates, inspires, ripens and enriches into and unto itself. And so each organism unfolds the entirety of the unalienated truth of the foundational cause into its ripening communion of association, experience, richness of foundational truth of being and relation and life. And so all of the great epochs, all of the great minds, anyone who has come to the fulfillment of these association states and communions and margins, has a direct, a profound, an integral relation that doesn't depend on accidents, that doesn't think that sophists or Pharisees or hollow scholars can bring life itself to ripened and enriched communion and revelation, but that allow that in itself to be its full meaning, expression, guide, continuum, and purpose and truth of foundation of being, which cannot be objectified, accidentalized, manipulated as some alienation's existence of truth, but becomes the all in all, the continuum, communion, conversion, revelation, and guide, the intimate, universal, purposeful, undying delivery of fulfillment and nature of life that takes its continent in attention, its undying immersion, its fulfilling fruition of being's state and soul and margin, that left its trace through the perennial philosophy of all ages of Greece, and most profoundly gave these revelations of unripened meditation and communion and witness, which perhaps more than any came to an acquaintance with this self-revealing association, which lies at the foundation and fulfilled fruition and functioning of all, not for themselves or for an instant alone, but which has to be lived, awoken. What is the use of seeing someone say that this is that to which we must turn as indifferent mouthed intuitions, the sages of Lao Tzu in China, or Socrates in Greece, or even more profoundly these in India, Ashrastu, that gives the pilgrim way, the purification, the enunciation to the full companioning recognition at the seat and soul of truth, of being and functioning? What is the use of seeing those things expressed? Do we understand it if we are not living in the fulfilling cultivation of that truth in ourselves? No, I think we're avoiding and evading the truth and dimension of realization, communion, and life that ripens and informs in the same way as it did to the harbor of beings functioning unto the fulfillment and truth of dignified essence revealed in the shadows of mind everywhere.